I'm very pleased to welcome all of you to our first webinar that will be running during our Republic campaign. And this update will include both the general update about the company, our progress on the business side and the product side, as well as specific details related to Republic campaign, what we're doing, how we're doing it, what is our near-term and long-term goals there. And that will be a subject of our discussion today. And I would like to introduce you 1WORLD team, some of our team members that will be sharing information with you today. I'll cover the company progress. I'm CEO and the founder of the company. With us today is Brett Caton, our head of corporate development, one of all-timers of 1WORLD, who was helping to build the company from very beginning since 2011. So Brett prepared a really interesting update about COVID-19 impact on the markets and how our business is going to be affected, that I think everybody's interested to hear. Sukhman Nijar is with us. He is running Republic campaign, and he's also helping 1WORLD on many marketing initiatives. And Emily with us, she's our head of customer success. She's on front line with many accounts, big and small, and everything in between. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy her updates to show real examples and some specific deployments that are going on. With this, let me start it with the company overall progress and highlights. By the way, I'm based in San Jose, California. Redwood City is our office, but as you can imagine, everything is closed today. California is on a lockdown for about a month now. And of course, the whole team works from home. And just to put a comment on this, 1WORLD always been a remote company. As you probably know, we have engineering, business, and customer support teams all around the country and abroad as well. So everybody is working remotely anyways. So it did not affect our performance and our efficiency. As a matter of fact, we enjoy even more business going on because of people online and everything is happening remotely. And everybody needs engagement. Everybody is promoting their stories through the internet nowadays. So we happen to be in a really nice intersection. When we're not affected in a bad way, we're affected in a good way. So first, let me just remind 1WORLD key value proposition. We are really nice and exciting marketing tool that allows you to connect demand and supply, as we call triangle, between publishers, advertisers, and the audiences. So 1WORLD tools are deployed on many sites, hundreds or even thousands on one side, and we support engagement. So it's really a good experience for people that come on site and vote and engage with the content. On the other hand, advertisers that use our tools as a frame or container for the advertising, they enjoy really good targeting and high conversions. And audiences, at the end of the day, that's what's really important. If people like it, if people enjoy it, and we have a really, really strong proof that people absolutely enjoy our tools, because we have a lot of records set in this year in terms of engagement, how people vote, what they do with the 1WORLD tools, how they earn incentives. So our story essentially flourish now because there's more and more things happening on the internet, and we happen to be delivering value for all three major parts of this ecosystem: advertisers, publishers, and people. Here's a quick example about how 1WORLD looks on one of our top sites, Newsweek. Usually we supplement the content of the article with a matching question and advertising next to it. And it's 100% of Newsweek pages that have 1WORLD deployed. And as you can see, we have tremendous statistics. Like, for example, this case study was done during the first 6 weeks of development, deployment. And you can see that, yeah, we achieved a major increase in the dwell time on the site, a lot of unique voters, 500,000, with the 2 million, almost 2 million votes placed, and major revenue generation on top of what it's already generated on this pages on the Newsweek. And just to remind you about 1WORLD overall value proposition and how the architecture of the system works. We have really nice engaging widgets on the front end, which range from regular polls to quizzes, trivia, or even debates, which is a very sophisticated format. When not only we pose a question, but we also give different opinions about the problem, whatever it is: global warming, gun control, or any other political issues, or entertainment, or sports, or what have you. And this front end is fully customizable. We also have our APIs, which means that customers can create their own experiences using our library. On the back end, we have very strong analytics and performing great in terms of monitoring the widget, the pull level, and building some analytics to optimize our advertising performance, and even have AI to manage certain features in our system. For example, we were very happy to announce just today that we deployed on production an AI engine that allows to match poll questions and the content dynamically. So before we did it manually. Let's say have article and the poll questions, they matched directly by URL. And now we have an engine called SmartText that allows to do it automatically. So all these AI elements are part of 1WORLD system. Some of them were developed a long time ago, some are fresh. So collectively, we build a really comprehensive system that has a nice front end, nice back end, and the user management. So we have now registration tools fully implemented in our inside pages. So any people that like our tools and vote and share and enjoy creating even some of the poll questions, they will be rewarded. First is come in a format of virtual points, but then people can redeem these points to tokens, which keep them really motivated. And as a result, with this increased intelligence between the system performance and the knowledge about the audience, of course, 1WORLD tools allow to do much better targeted advertising with the high conversion rates. So that's a nutshell our architecture. And it's one picture, but there's a lot of components behind the scenes that work together. All solutions are based on microservices. So we use a very modern architecture for implementation and deployment. And we continue adding functionality every sprint, which usually goes for 3 weeks. So it's a very dynamic team with a very good knowledge of media space and the blockchain and AI and other related technologies. So we essentially build a solution that is looking good on the front end, that's very intelligent on the back end, and has really nice incentive system in it. Just one comment, if anybody has any questions, there's two ways to ask them. You can type your question on the Q&A in the webinar, or you can raise your hand, and towards the end, we're gonna give you a mic and you can ask your question, okay? So moving to the next slide, I want to give you some highlights about results of year 2019 and how we started 2020. Many people on this call already know 1WORLD for a while or even invested in 1WORLD in previous rounds, but many of you are new and I would like you to understand better how company is doing. First of all, we completed an A3 funding round early this year and filed with SEC. Over the first and second closing raised more than 8 million. So the company is well funded. We have really prominent investors, including institutional angel groups and even strategic partners, such as Times Group of India. We also put a very big effort in releasing the next version of our advertising self-service, the campaign management tool, which all of you can try. I can show real quick how it works. All you need to do is just go to campaign1worldonline.com, and that's where you can see our interface, and you can participate by registering and creating your own campaigns. For example, if you're a fresh user, let me open it in incognito window, you're gonna see this. First of all, once you get to this page, you need to register, and you can create your account with email or Google or some other social network, and then you can start creating campaigns and executing them through our network. So that was a big focus, and we put a major effort to get the next version of this advertising self-service, including backend integration with some of our partners, such as advertising on-demand system called Beeswax and some of the targeted systems. As we all know, in advertising, the conversion is everything, because either advertising partners get return on their money or don't. And what we really pay attention is the targeting and ability to deliver a good quality of campaign. In terms of deployment, the tier 1 publishers that we really value today, our top 3 are Newsweek, NBT, and Times Group. So we're doing both embedded widget deployment and running campaigns through their properties. And there's many more actually that we developed, especially the first quarter of this year was tremendous. We've never seen so many self-registrations and so much interest from various regions. It's US, of course, but not only. We have quite a few European publishers coming online, including non-English languages. We're about to announce some major launches in Africa through our partnerships with the people that connect essentially US innovation and African markets. And I'm really happy about this progress. We traditionally are strong in Asia, not just India, but Southeastern Asia as well. So we pretty much doing proposals and launching new sites every week now. So hopefully this trend will continue. And we are not surprised because this is the time and place for people go online, and it's time for publishers to test new models. On the financial side, really happy to report that 2019 was profitable for us. We we earned more than 2.2 million in revenue, and did really well on the managing our costs and getting profitable. So this is actually one of the things we're doing for Republic, updating the CPA report, because we currently running campaign with a minimum 107K, just as a warm up and a test. And we're planning upon completion of our additional paperwork to upgrade it and go to the full 1 million. So essentially, I'm kind of answering a question that we already received about what is 1WORLD plan after we finish the month of April with the first stage. That's what's going to happen next. One other strategic partnership I want to emphasize is the Pillar, which is a super convenient crypto wallet, which is more than a wallet. It allows you to accept tokens, store them, send, receive, but also do exchange inside. And they have a great vision for the future of digital economy, and even put an article in the Medium that all of you can read, and we can share the link in our, it's actually on the Republic website, so you can see it right there in the press section. But we share this vision. It's all about Web 3.0 becoming reality, when people are not just readers, but rather participants on the media sites with incentives and great motivation. And between Pillar, 1WORLD, and a few other visionary innovative technology companies, we think it's going to be a big, especially now with the people sitting at home and trying to make money online. And one thing that I'll let Suk to talk about, our appearance on the TV series Meet the Drapers just last weekend, and some other PR activities. One other update I want to share, that back in January, 1WORLD joined our top US organization called GBA, Government Blockchain Association. We had a great meeting right here in the Capitol building in Washington, DC. So all the top innovative technology companies, all the state representatives were there that support the digital assets management, blockchain, and all these technologies that allow to bring them to the masses. So that event happened on January 31st. And we are essentially becoming one of the top players in California and very involved in the local chapter of GBA. And we have a couple of invitations to actually speak at events, and we'll continue doing this. Just to be sure that you know that we are very active, not just in developing technology, but staying compliant and working with the proper government bodies that are driving innovation. I think there'll be more and more demand for this given the current crisis situation, and we will be part of the solution. And there's a lot of things coming. I just want to give a quick preview about 1WORLD next integrations, not only into the websites, but also in other exciting services. What you see here on the screen is 1WORLD now is embedded as a tribe into the Sapien network. Some of you know that Sapien is probably an emerging challenger to Facebook, a real social network that allows people to earn tokens and for their activities online, and developing a whole new concept of collaboration. And so we have really good relationships, and you can go to Sapien network today and join 1WORLD tribe and see some interesting experiments that we're going to run there. So please keep eye on this. And with that, I'm transitioning to my colleague, Brett Caton, to talk about state of the market. That's another interesting topic that I think all of you want to hear. Brett, please.
Yeah, sure. Next slide. So it's interesting what's going on right now out there. Marketing often is the first department, right, to get chopped down when things are uncertain, when budgets are uncertain, and that's certainly happening in the ad sector. It's down 20 billion from committed spends. So people are basically walking out of contracts. It's down in every sector, but in the online space, although it's down, it's not as down nearly as much as others. And it makes sense, right? Because at the same time, people are online, they're at home. Online viewership is going through the roof. You can see these are actually, a couple of these are old clients of ours, but you can see how readership is going way, way up. So it's an odd situation, isn't it? Where you have spending going down and folks are trying to figure out how to monetize that, but the eyeballs are there. So what's going on is that it's coming down to engagement. That's what matters. You've got to capture that. And certainly at 1WORLD, there's been a lot of interest with the COVID-19. It's been interesting. So what LinkedIn's showing is interesting as well here, right? These are the trending hashtags. And you can see how in March, really, it's switched to a whole different mindset, right? Coronavirus, leadership, things like that. So it's changed. It's changed in terms of what people are thinking, which also makes sense. It's troubling times. So, next slide. Certainly, certain topics like healthcare are way up. What's overall way up is news publishers. Of course, this is a big target for 1WORLD. These are a lot of the partners that we're working with, and it makes sense, right? A lot of news traffic. It's in certain sections, especially healthcare, editorial. Right, there's certain sections that are getting particular traction. So if you combine this online viewership that's gone way up with now engagement, so you can catch them, it's a really interesting combination. If you look on the bottom, it's kind of interesting too. Health, wellness up, of course. Travel, no surprise, way down, way down. And e-commerce and e-shopping up. Right, this completely reflects what's going on with coronavirus, the environment we're living in. Next slide. So this is interesting. This is just out from Facebook. Very, very fascinating, really. And they're getting a lot of votes on this, and it's important. So they're surveying people here. I won't read this, but people can read this on the left-hand side of the screen here. And there's other surveys too. People are trying to learn what's going on in their environment right now. So surveys and polls are getting high engagement. Of course, anyone that's been following 1WORLD knows that's what 1WORLD focuses on. So it's gotten interesting. We're getting lots of interest in many different projects. We'll talk about some of those later here in the webinar. Some actual stuff that's going on right now just related to this. Next slide. This is also from Facebook. A couple extra slides here that are kind of interesting. So this is a project that was also announced by Facebook recently, and this in the United States. It's different internationally, of course, but the United States are very protective about where I am, who I am, privacy, but that's changing. People are allowing themselves to be tracked more. That's another thing that's happened just over these last few weeks. That was a sidebar in the Facebook announcements. But what's interesting with Facebook's launching here, what they have launched, is by doing this tracking, where are people moving, it can lead really to where there's risk of virus spread. And indeed, if you map this to the country, the COVID cases, it actually overlays it could almost be just that, right, for the COVID-19 right now. So next slide. And related to that is this map too, which is showing local connections within their community, right, where there's more local face-to-face contact, virus-to-virus spread contact. And again, it maps pretty well to what's going on. With New York, of course, New Jersey, if you look at the upper right-hand corner there at the blue, and in Florida, this is, of course, US-centric. This is worldwide they have doing this. The maps I have here, of course, are for the USA. Next slide. Yeah, just in terms of ads and ad costs, which tracks pretty closely, good corollary to the search terms themselves. And again, no surprise, right? You're seeing what's up. Fitness and exercise, way up. Things you do by yourself, away from people. Hiking, mountain biking, things like that. Down are things that would be close social contact with others. Bowling, yoga, amusement parks, right? So interesting. It reflects our environment that we're in, the new reality. And so advertising dollars are shifting now in the SEO world, obviously where the interest is, where the traction is. Next slide. Yeah, just so to conclude on this section of the webinar, so people are spending a lot more time online. and they're more engaged, and they're looking to be more engaged. And advertisers, brands, publishers are looking to get more engagement. That's the name of the game right now. Publishers are having a heyday with traffic, and of course they're looking for ways to manage that and take advantage of that. There's also a lot of interest in new business models. Everyone's realized, we're seeing this all across almost every sector, right? If people are not going to be able to, if they're going to be locked down and you can't get things installed into buildings, or you can't go to the movies, different world we're going to live in. So at the same time, on the online world, different business models are being tested. Of course, 1WORLD's doing some of these as well, which is interesting. We're seeing it firsthand. And the bottom line, right, at the end of the day, advertisers are just looking for better ROI. And so interesting times.
Thank you, Brad. I think you're right that it's a dramatic change and be a part of it. So let's just play as strong as possible and secure our place in COVID-19 world and post-COVID-19 world, when there's all the new big players are going to emerge. I think we're very well positioned for that. And with this, we continue with a more tactical update about what's happening on Republic campaign. And Suk, please take over.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Brad, for those insights. I'm going to be touching on just a few things very briefly and passing into Emily. So we had the privilege this month to launch on Republic. Republic's a platform that many of you might have come across a webinar from. Maybe some of you haven't. Republic's a crowdfunding website similar to Indiegogo and Kickstarter, but aimed towards companies and startups. And we officially launched this week. And as of now, you actually have the opportunity, or anyone around the world has the opportunity, to come to Republic and become an investor in 1WORLD. Next slide, please. So the campaign officially launched this month, and we're raising up to $107,000. And the second stage of that is basically up to $1 million. In addition to actually, offering people around the world to become investors, we're actually working with a few companies who are launching on Republic to use our solution, 1WORLD, to actually help, gather investors for their own campaigns. So this is a really exciting opportunity, right? Considering that around the world, there's a lot of issues around people and their uncertainty of investing. But what we're seeing is a lot of interesting things, and we actually have a solution that can help, organically and natively help companies gather investments and engagement around whatever their call to action is. Next slide, please. And in addition to the Republic campaign, there's actually a connection with a TV show, Meet the Drapers, which is an internationally televised show on platforms like Sony TV, Entertainment Now, Sling, and YouTube, where I think the estimates say that up to 200 million people will be watching the show. So 1WORLD had the opportunity to be aired, or their episode was aired this past Saturday. And there's an actual link between Meet the Drapers and Republic. So they want to be, we are the one of the first companies to be able to, gather investments via crowdfunding and a television series like this. So this is a really great opportunity. We'll actually share links with you all after this webcast. If you'd like to see the show, there should be a link that's available on YouTube. And next slide, please, and take it off for Emily.
Thank you, Suk. And one important takeaway that I hope all of you registered, that 1WORLD campaign on Republic, of course, fundraising is good, but even better is building sales channels. So what we consider Republic to be is a great place with a very democratic way to raise capital for startups of any types, from IT to healthcare. And once we demonstrate a great campaign on Republic for 1WORLD itself, we can leverage our same tools that we used to promote our story for other companies. And that's what was equally exciting as just fundraising on its own. Because as you know, we finished round A3 already, and this is additional capital we are raising towards round B. But sales channels is everything, right? And I consider Republic, which I know for many years, is one of the great venues that really fits this Web 3.0 world, where crowdfunding is becoming more and more in demand, especially with no events, right? People don't go to physical places. So everything is happening online. And Republic has a very streamlined process that we think is the future. And with that, let me transition to Emily, the head of our customer success team. Emily, please.
Thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. This is Emily, and I will be giving you customer success updates and examples from the last couple of quarters. In 2019, we had several successful deployments on Tier 1 publishers. First was Newsweek last October, where we created over 200 polls in 2 days for full site deployment. Since then, we have created 2,500 unique polls and 2 quizzes, which have generated over 11 million votes and has increased dwell time by 22%. Here's an example of one of our quizzes we deployed on Newsweek in the beginning of March 2020. Democratic Candidate ID Quiz, which generated over 72,000 views, 30,000 participants, and over 680,000 votes in 1 week, with one day receiving over 300,000 votes just on the quiz. So this is an example where not only our polls are engaging to the readers of our partner sites, but also quizzes can be just as engaging or more engaging than the best polls out there. And also, just is another example of how 1WORLD tools like quizzes and surveys and trivia and debates can be just as engaging as polls. Another highlight from 2019 was IBT media deployment. 1WORLD platform was deployed over 5 sub-partner publishers: ibtimes.com, US version, Medical Daily, Latin Times, Player One, and IB Times UK. We deployed our widgets over 33 featured categories in the middle of December 2019. Our team has created over 2,200 unique polls that have received over 700,000 votes since full deployment on those sites. We're continuing to deploy publisher sites on a weekly basis, such as Biznology, I Believe in Mother Nature, Huawei, and from Africa, Nairametrics, and Business Day Nigeria, and many more to come. In addition to providing our partners' audience with engaging content, our polls automatically generate insight pages. Each poll links to the insight page that reveals fascinating and engaging findings, such as percentages of votes on each answer option, links to related articles and polls, as well as breaking the findings down by gender and geography, also compared by answers on other partner sites. Another example of delivering unique content is our daily poll snapshots as a new, exciting format of auto-generated content based on audience polling. And as Alex mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, we're happy to announce newly developed product feature on our 1WORLD widgets called SmartX, which automatically displays polls on the content from the article, linking articles to relevant polls, resulting in a more engaging experience. So that pretty much does it for me.
Thank you very much, Emily. And yeah, tremendous work by our customer success team. One thing I want to mention, which probably all of you registered, that there's a tremendous amount of content being created. And that's why it's so important for us to automate the process. As you can see, some of the processes already automated, like the creation of insight pages. It doesn't require any intervention from people at all. It's all coming organically. The maps, the statistics, demographics, and revenue. But in terms of poll generation, we are making this transition as we speak. So we're using this AI engine from our partners, Hipster, and integrating into our system. First, the feature that went live literally this week is the matching between the article and the poll question, which is now automated and can be turned on and off. But we're also working on the second stage, which will be generating some content through artificial intelligence, and will reduce dramatically the manual load. So as we continue with the tier 1 sites and the huge deployment volumes, we of course working a lot on the process optimization to reduce the cost and essentially just provide technology platform that does a lot of things automatically. And as a part of it, we have revenue growth. Every engagement means more ad impressions, and we're really happy that some of the other tier 1 publishers around the world are realizing how good it is to increase revenue. We have quite a few proposals in works, and we'll keep you posted on our progress throughout the Republic campaign. So that completes our main presentation, and we are opening the floor for questions. So please, anybody can ask a question, either type in QA or ask it by voice. Please raise your hand if you want to ask a question, or Suk, if you please coordinate if there's already something you received.
Yeah, please feel free to use the chat box to ask any questions until we have these attendees ask any questions. We actually have some questions that were asked by users on Republic. Alex, I guess we can have a conversation about those now.
Sure, please.
Could you talk a bit more? Someone was curious about using 1WORLD polls. Does a user have to have a 1WORLD account? How does actually a user on the internet interact with 1WORLD? Maybe you can give a screen share of Newsweek or a publisher so we can see it live.
Right. Yeah, let's do it. So that's a very good question, because there are two scenarios and we support both. First and foremost, a lot of people, when they come to the site, they of course don't have an account, right? And there's no barrier. So when they come to Newsweek, for example, let's open the article from today. That's not a problem. They have the, they have this audio on some of the other advertising, but let me, mute it. So essentially you come into the article, you read the news, and at some point you get to the 1WORLD poll questions. So you don't need to be registered, you can just vote. I plan to stop shaking hands with others in the future. I'll say yes, because we probably all should be careful, right? And so now I just voted, and if I'm not known to the system, there's still an account that just created, which we call synthetic account. So people already known to the system and how they voted, and their session ID, and then where they came from, but they don't have an account with any PII or any personal data. So that's how the experience starts. But what we allow people to do is register, which could be happening inside of the widget if publisher decides to enable this feature, or it can be happening on the inside page. So let me just show you. When I transition to inside page, I can see all this exciting statistics about the poll data. That's the page that's generated automatically that Emily already mentioned. And inside of this page, here's our registration part. So you can actually, when you can see how many points you earned already, and you can go and update your profile, because I'm already known to the system. But if you are not known to the system, that's where you can register. So let me show this experience real quick. I just open the incognito window, take the same URL, go to the same page, and you can see how that looks like, right? So that's register now. So that's the place and time where we invite people to register, and after that, they can benefit. They can vote on the polls and earn tokens. They can share results and earn tokens. They can read more articles and contribute polls if there's anything they want to ask the world about, and they can update their profile. So this experience right now is implemented on the inside page, and you can imagine that also is available in the widget if people want to move forward and create an account. And you can see it could be Google, Twitter, and others, or it could be just email.
Great.
So,
thank you. And then Samir just reached out with a question. To what level do humans from 1WORLD get involved in the execution of polls and other types of content? Alex?
Yes, there are 4 ways to create new content. And that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked it, because we didn't cover all options. The first option is what our content team is doing on a daily basis. They creating polls for all the headline news. So every day we have certain news that every publisher in the world will cover, right? Something big is happening. Of course, coronavirus or US presidential elections or some other big events. Second option is the crowd poll creation. We have this feature in our system. So if publisher wants to open the floor for the audience to suggest questions, that's available. That's the second source. And that takes a lot of load of the editorial team, but of course it requires some quality control. The third option, which is very typical outside of US, is when we train the publisher team during the first month or 2, and they take over. So for example, all our launches in Africa or Asia, that's usually this way. Emily's team is doing very extensive training. There's some videos on our YouTube channel that you can check out. And then the publisher team takes over, which creates no effort for us. It will be just support, usually tier 3 support. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, the even more exciting way to create new poll questions is to use AI. So this is already in our roadmap for this year. And so we can continue with this development and make it another option. So in other words, it's very scalable because we only create a limited number of questions every day. Essentially just feed in the news, the headline news, and everything else could be offloaded or transitioned to either AI or partners.
Right. And do you also want to talk about, Alex, the next iteration of 1WORLD where we're actually crowdsourcing the ability to create content with our users?
Right. That's essentially, it could be done in two ways. It could be done inside of the widget, which we can prepare a demo for next webinar or share it in our public group, because especially in mobile, we have this crowd feature enabled a couple of sites when the audience can create it. The second way is we call it Scraper. It's essentially a way to contribute questions to the articles that are on the sites of partners that we support, and people can earn tokens by doing this. So yes, we have this feature, and by the way, that's very unique. I see another question that came up about the competition. I want to mention that the crowdsourcing and the token economy is super unique. I don't think anybody else has it, and that really helps the scalability of our platform.
Right. And then would you like to answer that a little more broadly, just in general, who are our competitors in the space that we're in, how the differentiation works with 1WORLD and them in terms of blockchain token economies?
Yes, thank you for this question. That's another one that I really like to emphasize, that if you look at the 1WORLD solution, essentially it's three components: the engagement piece, the advertising piece, and the token economy. And if you look at each of them separately, yes, we have partial competitors. Of course, on many advertising solutions that combine programmatic and direct deals. That's how we make money, right? You see the programmatic feed coming next to our widgets, or it could be direct deals. And this is a very crowded space, of course. But the good news is that we don't need to create competition. We just plug in some existing solutions. Then for engagement, yes, there are some competitors. If you just look at the engagement, there's a Carambola and Epster and Playbuzz, and they create also interactive modular experiences. But if you look at the token economy, that's absolutely unique. None of engagement or advertising companies have tokens, to my knowledge. If you look at just this space, we have companies like Brave, basic attention token, that of course is good, but it requires installing a separate browser. 1WORLD does not require that. Of course, 99% of people are going to continue using Chrome and Safari and Firefox, so we cover them all, right? While Brave, they're doing well, but they require a separate browser, which makes it very limited. And there are a couple of other solutions, but they're not really B2B2C, so they're not, the tokens are not coming through widgets like Steam or some other companies out there that incentivize people for content. I think we very uniquely positioned, and if you look at all three pieces together, advertising, engagement, and tokens, nobody else has this combination in production on the market today, to my knowledge.
Great. And then we'll take just a few more questions. I have one here. In the generation and the age that we live in now, ad blockers, obviously, as we all know, are very, very popular among users of the internet browsers from mobile to desktop. Alex, can you talk about ad blockers and the relationship with 1WORLD? How does the ad blocker work in terms of a 1WORLD widget being displayed?
Yeah, that's not a good question. Usually ad blockers are blocking ad units, right? But not the content piece. So even in the worst case scenario, when people are coming to the website and they have ad blocker, right, enabled, there is still ability for us to make money, which is also very unique. So in other words, the advertising underneath the widget will be blocked. But if you, for example, have editorial or sponsored content.
Could you go to the Newsweek, the example you just showed us, the Bernie Sanders dropped out, so we can see?
Yeah.
There you go.
Right here. Yeah, so essentially what happens if ad blocker is enabled, it will block this component, right? The advertising underneath the widget, but the widget itself will be still available, and people can continue going from one question to another. And so 1WORLD has a couple of options that can still be turned on and bring publishers money. Like, for example, the poll question itself might be acting as advertisement and take you to another page. Like what we see right now is it takes you to the inside page. We can make it any page. It could be a landing page explaining the value proposition from a brand or partner and so on. So essentially, we have a workaround for ad blockers when engagement can turn to some what I call lead generation. It's not really programmatic advertising. It's not traditional ad. It's more a new, more engaging and more organic, as they call native advertising format that still can be enabled. So that's a huge benefit. And the second part of my answer to this question is that there's a way to use token economy to incentivize people and give them a choice. Either they allow advertising or they disable it with the ad blocker, but there's a token payment associated. So tokens can be used as an alternative. So either you see advertising or you use your tokens to disable it. Okay.
Great.
So OneWorld has options.
Awesome. Samir has one more question. Alex, how would you capitalize from an event such as Sanders dropping out today? Can you give a simple example?
Yeah, actually, Emily is working on this as we speak, which I really appreciate. Yeah, the way our customer success team operates, they're watching Google Analytics all day long and catching all the popular articles, like on Newsweek, IBT, and other partners. And it's great benefit because publishers make much more money. Of course, every time there's a huge traffic related to certain topic. Like today, Bernie Sanders dropped out of presidential race. So what it means that Emily is putting together articles, so polls for these articles, and monetizing them. So we get more votes, we get more advertising revenue, and the analytics that's coming from these poll questions can be used for additional revenue generation. Like if you look at this insight page, 1 second. Yeah, here. There's a space for additional advertising. So to answer your question, every time when there's a big event happening, we have more people on the site, more advertising revenue, and more registrations.
Right. Yeah. We follow current events, right? As events are happening, we're following them and creating polls and trivia around those. So there's no more questions. If anyone has any more questions, please feel free to push them through. I guess I'll ask you one more question, Alex, and then if there's any other questions, we can take them in, and if not, we can end this presentation. Could you talk a bit more about the OneWorld token and its use in the OneWorld ecosystem?
Yeah, essentially, OneWorld token is serving as a loyalty part from one side. It's for loyalty of people coming to the website when they engage, they earn points and convert them to tokens, but also it serves as a discount tool for advertisers. So we making sure that token always has a real meaning, real asset behind it, which is usually 1 CPM. So for one token, when people come to campaign management that I showed earlier, they can use it as an additional payment tool for discounts when they get the advertising campaign going. So loyalty program one side and the discount on another. Just to be sure that people understand, at this moment, we only offer equity on Republic. So tokens are essentially leaving our economy already. They're kind of not subject of this offering, but they already exist a tool that helps our advertising revenue. Because obviously, the more people participate, the more they do on the site, the better is the traffic and revenue. But yeah, just be sure that folks, if we come to Republic and you check on our page, this is equity, so we offer our shares on discounted note towards the next round.
Great. And then we have one more question and we'll end the presentation. Dominic has a question around expanding beyond English speaking spaces. So does OneWorld have any non-English speaking partners or multilingual or partners with multilingual capacities?
Absolutely. Thank you for this question, Dominic. We do have about 30 languages supported in our system today. And we have traditionally strong deployments in Latin America, for example, come on sites like El Universal and Forbes Mexico and a few others. They're still running our widgets, and we can see them on Google Analytics all the time. But we also work on a couple of really exciting new proposals, in particular one in Spain, a company called El Universal. We already secured interest, and the presentation and proposal was also submitted in Spanish language. It's actually in our system, and maybe next time I'll show you a dashboard and some ways to how we actually do business development, track new opportunities. But the answer is yes. So Spanish is popular. We have deployments in Russian language, including RTVI, some really good sites. And we have some Asian deployments in other languages, like One India, for example, was running our widgets for about 2 years. and we created support for about a dozen of local languages, including Tamil, Senegali, and so on. That was very well received. We support Farsi and other languages for Middle East, which is quite unique. And yeah, total is about 30 languages in our system. When you create widgets through our admin dashboard, you will see all these languages available.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Alex. I think that sums up our presentation for today. We might have a follow-up webcast on different topics. Maybe we can expand a bit more on the questions we received today next week, correct?
Yes, we will continue answering questions in Republic group and sending updates to people who are interested. And I encourage everybody to come and participate on our page on Republic.
Yeah, and we'll follow up with everyone in an email with links to our Republic campaign, our Meet the Drapers episode, all that kind of good stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Thank you, Suk.
Yep.
Thanks everybody for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks everybody, appreciate it.
And talk to you soon. Looking forward. Bye.